What if I told you that everything holding you back isn't who you are, but just a habit your mind has learned? The doubts you feel are not your identity. They're something you can unlearn. You weren't born doubting yourself. You didn't enter this world questioning your worth, your intelligence, or your place in it. As a child, you reached without hesitation, spoke without filtering every word, and tried without first asking whether you were good enough. Self-doubt wasn't part of your original design. It arrived later, quietly, gradually, through moments that seemed small at the time but repeated often, enough to leave marks. Someone corrected you too harshly. Someone compared you to another. A mistake was laughed at instead of understood. An effort went unnoticed. And slowly, without anyone announcing it, your mind began to connect experiences with meaning, not facts, meanings. I'm not enough. I always get it wrong. I should stay quiet. The mind loves patterns, and once it finds one, it keeps repeating it until it feels true. That's how habits are formed, not through one big event, but through repetition. Over time, self-doubt stopped feeling like something you experienced and started feeling like something you were. It blended into your personality. You didn't say, "I'm feeling doubt today." You said, "This is just how I am." And that's the most dangerous part, when a habit disguises itself as identity. Because when you believe something is who you are, you stop trying to change it. But here's what you must understand. Anything that was learned can be unlearned. You learn doubt through repetition, and repetition can be reversed. The mind doesn't care whether a belief is helpful or harmful. It only cares whether it's familiar. That means the same mechanism that built self-doubt can dismantle it. The problem was never that you were broken. The problem was that you practiced the wrong story for too long. Think about it. If doubt were truly your identity, it would have been there from the beginning. But it wasn't. It showed up after experiences, after environments, after people. And what comes from outside is not who you are inside. Identity is not formed by wounds. It's formed by awareness of them. The moment you see self-doubt as a habit, something shifts. You stop attacking yourself and start observing yourself. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "Well, where did I learn this?" And that question alone creates distance. Distance between you and the doubt. Distance is power. Distance is choice. You are not here to erase your past, but to stop letting it define your future. Self-doubt may have been practiced, rehearsed, and reinforced, but it was never you. And the moment you recognize that, the habit begins to lose its hold. Once self-doubt becomes familiar, it starts speaking in your own voice. That's how it survives. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It sounds reasonable, protective, even intelligent. It says things like, "Be careful. Don't embarrass yourself. You should wait until you're ready." And because it uses your tone, your language, your past experiences, you assume it's you thinking clearly. But it isn't clarity, it's conditioning. The mind's job is not to make you confident. It's to keep you safe. And safety to the mind means familiarity. If you've failed before, the mind will try to stop you from trying again. Not because you're incapable, but because uncertainty feels dangerous. So it replays old memories, magnifies small mistakes, and predicts worst-case outcomes. Not to hurt you, but to protect you. The tragedy is that protection often looks exactly like limitation. This is why self-doubt feels so convincing. It's built on real events, but it draws false conclusions. You failed once, so it says you always fail. Someone criticized you, so it says you're not good enough. A moment didn't work out, so it says you shouldn't try again. The mind takes fragments of truth and turns them into permanent labels. And once a label is accepted, behavior follows it automatically. You don't hesitate because you lack ability. You hesitate because you've believed the story long enough. You don't stay small because you're weak. You stay small because you were taught that visibility equals danger. And after years of repetition, the voice of doubt stops sounding like fear and starts sounding like wisdom. But here's the shift that changes everything. Thoughts are not commands. They are suggestions. And just because a thought appears doesn't mean it deserves obedience. The mind produces thousands of thoughts every day. Many of them contradictory, many of them useless. You already ignore most of them without realizing it. Self-doubt only has power because you've been treating it like authority instead of noise. The moment you pause and say, "This is a pattern, not a fact," the spell weakens. You don't argue with the thought. You don't fight it. You simply stop identifying with it. You let it pass the same way you let clouds pass across the sky. They move, but the sky remains untouched. Awareness doesn't erase doubt instantly, but it breaks the cycle. You stop reacting automatically. You create a gap between the thought and the action, and in that gap, freedom lives. Because confidence is not the absence of doubt. It's the decision to move even when doubt speaks. And once you realize that the voice in your head is learned, not true, you stop letting it decide the size of your life. Self-doubt doesn't just live in your thoughts. It quietly shapes your behavior. Long before you consciously decide anything, it has already influenced how you move, how you speak, and what you avoid. You don't wake up and say, "Today I'll hold myself back." Instead, you delay. You overthink. You wait for a perfect moment that never arrives. And over time, hesitation becomes your default setting. Notice how this works. Opportunities appear, and instantly your mind starts negotiating. Maybe later. Let me learn more first. Someone else will do it better. These sound like practical thoughts, but they're actually fear wearing the mask of logic. Self-doubt doesn't want to be exposed, so it hides inside reasonable excuses. And because the excuses feel smart, you rarely challenge them. What's dangerous is not the doubt itself, it's the habits it creates. You stop raising your hand. You stop sharing your ideas. You stop starting things you care about. Each small retreat feels harmless, but together they form a lifestyle of playing safe. And the more you practice playing safe, the harder it becomes to imagine yourself acting boldly. Your comfort zone shrinks, not because life demanded it, but because doubt trained you to retreat. Here's the painful truth most people never hear. Confidence is built through action, not thinking. You don't think your way into courage. You move your way into it. Every time you avoid something because you feel unsure, you teach your brain that avoidance is the right response. And the brain learns fast. It doesn't care whether the lesson is helpful, it only cares that it's repeated. This is why waiting to feel ready is such a trap. Readiness is not a feeling that appears before action. It's a feeling that appears after. The first step always feels awkward. The first attempt always feels messy. And self-doubt uses that discomfort as proof that you're not meant for it. But discomfort is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that growth is happening. The shift begins when you stop asking, "Am I confident enough?" and start asking, "What is the smallest action I can take right now?" Small actions bypass fear. They don't threaten the ego. They don't demand perfection. They simply move you forward, and movement changes identity faster than motivation ever will. Each time you act despite doubt, something powerful happens. The mind updates its story. It realizes you survived. Then it realizes you handled more than you expected. Slowly, the old narrative starts cracking. Not because you silenced doubt, but because you stopped letting it control your behavior. You don't break self-doubt by fighting it. You break it by outgrowing it. Self-doubt often disguises itself as caution, and that's what makes it so deceptive. It whispers, "Be careful, don't rush. Think twice," and it feels responsible. On the surface, it seems like wisdom, a voice of reason guiding you to avoid mistakes. But in reality, it is a subtle jailer, keeping you confined within invisible boundaries. When you listen to it too much, your life becomes a series of safe choices that leave your potential untouched, your ideas untested, and your true strength hidden. Think about it. How often have you avoided speaking up because you feared being judged? How often have you declined an opportunity because you weren't sure you were ready? That hesitation, that tiny pause, compounds. Over time, it builds a pattern where doubt feels normal, even necessary. And the cruel part is that this habit tells you that the problem lies in your skill or talent, when the real problem is a mindset that you've allowed to become habitual. Here's what most people fail to realize. Self-doubt is learned, and habits can be unlearned. Just like you developed a tendency to retreat, to hesitate, and to question yourself at every step, you can develop a tendency to act, to trust, and to move forward despite uncertainty. It's about retraining your mind to recognize that discomfort does not equal danger. That fear of judgment does not equal reality. That hesitation is not a signal to stop, it's a signal to act. Breaking the habit of self-doubt doesn't require eliminating fear completely. Fear will always exist. It's part of being human. What matters is how you respond. Every time you take action despite fear, your mind receives new evidence about what is possible. The story that doubt has been telling you for years, "You are not ready, you are not capable," starts to crumble because it is contradicted by your actions. One of the most effective ways to start this shift is by creating micro-challenges for yourself. Small, deliberate actions that push you just a little beyond your comfort zone. Speak up in a meeting, share an idea, try something new. Each micro-challenge is a brick in the foundation of a new habit. And unlike grand gestures, these small steps are consistent, repeatable, and sustainable. Over time, they form a momentum that fear cannot stop. Understand this. Breaking the habit of self-doubt is not an event, it's a process. It's about repeatedly showing up for yourself, proving to your mind that you are capable, resilient, and resourceful. The shift doesn't happen overnight, but every step you take chips away at the habit that has held you back for so long. The moment you realize that self-doubt is a habit, not your identity, you reclaim your power. You stop identifying with hesitation and start identifying with action, growth, and courage. And once you embrace that perspective, everything changes because now, instead of waiting for confidence, you create it with every choice you make. Self-doubt loses its control the moment you treat it as a signal to move forward, not a reason to retreat. Self-doubt doesn't just appear out of nowhere, it is fed by comparison. Every time you look at someone else's life, their achievements, their confidence, and measure yourself against them, you're giving your self-doubt more power. Social media has amplified this habit, making it feel impossible to escape. We scroll, we compare, and without even realizing it, we start believing the narrative that everyone else is ahead, smarter, or more deserving. And that belief slowly solidifies into the story we tell ourselves. I'm not good enough, not capable enough, not ready. But here's the truth that most people never confront. Comparison is a trap. It is a misleading lens that distorts reality and diminishes your perception of your own capabilities. No one else's journey is identical to yours. Their circumstances, experiences, and struggles are unique, just as yours are. When you compare yourself to someone else, you're not seeing them fully, and you're certainly not seeing yourself fully. You're viewing a fraction of their reality while ignoring your own potential, growth, and achievements. The key to breaking the habit of self-doubt through comparison is shifting your focus inward. Instead of measuring yourself against others, measure yourself against your own growth. Ask, am I better today than I was yesterday? Celebrate even small progress. Recognize the skills you are developing, the resilience you are building, and the courage you are practicing. Self-doubt loses its grip the moment you anchor your identity in your own journey instead of someone else's. Another powerful method is to actively limit exposure to the triggers of comparison. Social media is a constant source, but it's not the only one. Even conversations, workplace culture, or competitive environments can fuel self-doubt. Protecting your mental space doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means curating it. Surround yourself with people who inspire, support, and challenge you without creating fear or inadequacy. Feed your mind with content that encourages growth, learning, and self-belief, not envy or judgment. Remember, breaking the habit of self-doubt requires consistency. You will notice the pull of comparison again and again, but with each conscious choice to focus on your own progress, to acknowledge your strengths, and to appreciate your unique path, the habit loses strength. Slowly, it shifts from a dominant voice in your mind to a whisper, one you can acknowledge without obeying. Comparison might be a habitual trap, but awareness is the key to freedom. Once you understand how comparison fuels self-doubt, you can reclaim control, realign your focus, and remind yourself that your worth and potential are independent of anyone else. The moment you choose to see your journey, your growth, and your progress as the benchmark, self-doubt loses its power. You begin to operate from a place of self-trust, confidence, and inner validation, and that is when you truly start living free from the shadow of comparison. Your life becomes about your story, your victories, and your potential, not someone else's. Self-doubt often thrives in silence. The quieter your mind becomes, the louder that inner voice of uncertainty can get. Many people don't realize how much power they give to thoughts that are unexamined, repeating the same negative patterns over and over until they feel like truth. I'm not ready. I'm not capable. I'll fail. These are phrases we whisper to ourselves so often that they become a default setting in our minds. And the tragedy is, just because you think something repeatedly doesn't make it true. Self-doubt is a habit, not a reflection of your real abilities. One of the first steps to breaking this cycle is to bring your thoughts into the light. Awareness is the bridge between being trapped in doubt and reclaiming your confidence. Start noticing the moments when self-doubt arises, when you hesitate to speak up, when you avoid taking action, when fear convinces you that you're not enough. Instead of judging yourself for having these thoughts, simply observe them. Recognize them as old habits, not facts. Once you see them clearly, they lose their ability to control you. Journaling is a practical tool here. Write down the negative thoughts as they occur. Seeing them on paper gives them a shape and a boundary. Then challenge each one. Ask yourself, is this really true? What evidence do I have? Am I generalizing from one small setback? This practice creates a powerful shift. Thoughts that once seemed unstoppable are now under examination, and you begin to realize that your mind has been rehearsing doubts rather than presenting reality. Another essential practice is replacing doubt with action. Self-doubt feeds on inaction. The more you hesitate, the more it convinces you that you can't. But each small step you take, each moment you act despite uncertainty, chips away at the habit. Confidence isn't something that arrives fully formed, it's built in increments. Start with small wins. Complete tasks you've been postponing. Speak up in conversations you'd normally avoid. Take on challenges that stretch you slightly beyond your comfort zone. Each action tells your brain a new story. I can do this. I am capable. Remember that your mind is a tool, not a master. You are the observer, the conscious presence that can guide it. Self-doubt becomes dangerous only when you allow it to run unchecked. By observing, challenging, and taking deliberate steps despite it, you transform doubt from a dictator into a signal, a message that invites careful reflection, not inaction. The more consistently you practice this, the less power self-doubt will hold over your decisions, your relationships, and your growth. It is not your identity. It is a habit you can reshape. When you treat self-doubt as a habit and confront it with awareness and action, it stops defining you and you begin living from your true capability and potential. That self-doubt often whispers to us in the quiet moments, convincing us that we're not enough before we even begin. It thrives on uncertainty, feeding off hesitation and fear. The seventh key point in understanding that self-doubt is a habit, not your identity, is learning to reshape your inner dialogue. You see, the words you repeat to yourself become the lens through which you view the world. Every "I can't" or "I'm not ready" is a brick in the cage that holds your potential. If you allow these words to dominate your inner narrative, they will continue to dictate your actions, or, more accurately, your inactions. The first step to reshaping this dialogue is awareness. Notice how often you criticize yourself in thought, how quickly your mind jumps to worst-case scenarios, and how much energy you spend convincing yourself that failure is inevitable. Simply observing these patterns without judgment gives you power. Awareness allows you to interrupt the automatic flow of negative self-talk and create a space where conscious choice can emerge. Once you notice the voice of self-doubt, you can begin to question it. Next comes replacement, and this is where transformation truly begins. Every time self-doubt surfaces, consciously replace it with a statement of possibility. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," try, "I am learning and growing through this challenge." Instead of, "I'm not good enough," affirm, "I am capable, and I have unique strengths to offer." These shifts may feel unnatural at first, even awkward, because the habit of doubt has been reinforced for years. But like any habit, repetition rewires your brain. Over time, your default responses change, and your inner voice becomes an ally rather than an enemy. Action amplifies the impact of this new dialogue. Speaking kindly to yourself is important, but it is through intentional, small actions that confidence solidifies. Take on tasks that stretch you just beyond your comfort zone. Each time you move forward despite doubt, you prove to yourself that the habit of self-doubt does not define your abilities. Your mind begins to recognize that your worth is not contingent on perfection or external approval. It is inherent, grounded in your persistence and courage.
Finally, remember that self-doubt is not a reflection of truth.
It is a habitual pattern that can be reshaped. The voice that tells you you can't is not your identity speaking. It is a recording of fear and past conditioning. By observing, challenging, and consciously replacing these thoughts, you reclaim the narrative. Your inner dialogue is not a sentence, it is a script you can rewrite. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes to speak to yourself with encouragement, compassion, and faith in your potential. This is how self-doubt stops controlling you, and your true identity, resilient, capable, and courageous, begins to shine. When you take control of your inner voice, you stop letting habit dictate your life, and you start living from your true strength. The final key point in understanding that self-doubt is a habit, not your identity, is embracing your progress no matter how small. Often we wait for monumental achievements to validate ourselves, but the truth is change is built in the small, consistent steps you take every day. Self-doubt thrives on the gap between where you are and where you think you should be. It whispers, "You're not enough yet," and keeps you trapped in a cycle of comparison and inaction. Recognizing and celebrating the small wins breaks this cycle. Every time you move forward, even in tiny ways, you are actively rewriting the habit of doubt into a habit of growth and confidence. One of the most important aspects of this is acknowledging your effort rather than only the outcome. So often we overlook our dedication, our persistence, and our courage to keep trying, focusing solely on what hasn't been achieved. This fuels doubt. Instead, begin to pause and recognize when you've pushed through hesitation, when you've acted despite fear, or when you've shown resilience in the face of uncertainty. These are not minor acts. They are evidence of your true strength. By appreciating them, you reinforce the idea that your worth is not determined by perfection but by your commitment to growth. Another vital element is tracking your growth over time. Write down your accomplishments, reflect on challenges you've overcome, and remind yourself of the moments when self-doubt tried to hold you back, but you acted anyway. Seeing a tangible record of your progress can be profoundly empowering. It proves to your mind, which often exaggerates failure and diminishes success, that you are capable and resilient. This visual reminder becomes a shield against self-doubt, a tool you can return to whenever the old habit tries to creep back in. Equally important is embracing patience with yourself. Breaking the habit of self-doubt doesn't happen overnight. Your mind is deeply conditioned and old patterns may resurface. Instead of berating yourself for slipping into doubt, treat each instance as an opportunity to practice awareness and conscious choice. Every time you respond differently to that old habit, you strengthen your mental muscles and reinforce the truth. Self-doubt is a habit, not who you are. Finally, remember that growth and self-belief are continuous processes. There is no final destination where self-doubt disappears entirely. There is only progress. By celebrating each step, no matter how small, you turn awareness into action, action into confidence, and confidence into identity. This practice transforms self-doubt from a controlling force into a background noise that no longer defines your life. When you embrace your progress, honor your efforts, and recognize that every small step matters, you free yourself from the grip of doubt and begin living as your true, capable self. Your journey is not about perfection. It's about reclaiming your strength, one mindful step at a time. Remember, self-doubt is not who you are, it's a habit. Break it step by step, celebrate your progress, and step into the life you were truly meant to live.